Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Robin Norgren. I am a teacher and also a chaplain, and I am starting a series on the saints. I have felt the call as a Protestant to become more aware of the liturgical part of churches. For most of my life, I have been in different types of churches, but mostly I've leaned towards the Protestant faith. And so a lot of the Protestant churches that I've been involved in don't really speak about saints and sainthood. And I felt that it was time in my spiritual journey to really understand what it means to be a saint. Who are these people? Are they like me? And so if that's something you want to get to know as well, I'm putting it together in a pretty easygoing manner. I'm using a book called A Saint a Day, and it's edited by Meredith Hines. I'll put the information down in the description box. And it's basically, I'm going to share the work that she has done. So it's a Bible verse, it's a little bit of a story about the saint, and then it's a prayer, and then I do a synopsis at the end of my impressions of those saints. So if this is what you would like to get to know, please follow along with me. All right, the first one is Saint Agnes of Rome. And we start with the Bible verse, Acts 5:41. They rejoiced when they considered that they were considered worthy to suffer dishonor for the sake of the name. Imagine a beautiful girl trapped in a dark and terrible prison. Is she crying and scared? Is she shaking with cold and fear? No, she's happy. Agnes was happy in prison. She glowed with joy. Why? Because of her love for Jesus. Agnes grew up in a wealthy home, and she could have had anything she wanted, but she didn't want wealth and marriage. She wanted only to serve and to love her Savior. Many men proposed to Agnes, but she always refused them, even though they promised a life of comfort and ease. I only want Jesus, Agnes would tell them. These men became angry and reported her faith to the government, and Agnes was imprisoned and killed. Agnes died calmly and peacefully, knowing that she was headed for heaven. Jesus, I want to love you more than I love anyone in this world, just as St. Agnes of Rome did. It says, in paintings of St. Agnes of Rome, she's often shown holding a lamb. If I can find a picture, I'll make sure and put it up here in the comments, or in the video. St. Vincent of Zaragossa. Psalm 118:6. With the Lord on my side, I do not fear. What can mortals do to me? Vincent lived in a time and place where Christianity was illegal. Christians were hunted by the leaders of their city, and they often had to hide for their safety. Vincent was captured and tortured. His jailers told him that the torture would stop if Vincent said Jesus wasn't real. But Vincent never said anything against Jesus. The emperor who ordered that Vincent be tortured backed down. Then the emperor said that if Vincent would give up only the sacred writings about Jesus, the torture would stop. Vincent could simply say that writings about Jesus were not true. Again, Vincent said no. Because these sacred writings were defended by Christians like Vincent such a long time ago, we still have them today. Jesus, help me stand up for you and your word, just like St. Vincent of Zaragossa. In the United States, we just have no real sense of, having to defend the Bible. And you don't realize just how lucky we are that other countries still have to do that, right? It just makes you want to just sit and take a moment, right? Take a moment and just go, yeah, this struggle is still going on even today. Saint Marian Cope. Luke 17:12-13. As he entered a village, 10 lepers approached him. Keeping their distance, they cried out, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. God called Marian to a place that no one else wanted to go. a place where people suffered from a terrible disease that made their bodies weak and gave their skin sores. In the Gospels, Jesus and his disciples called that disease leprosy, and the same disease is now known as Hansen's disease. Where were people suffering from Hansen's disease? Hawaii. Hawaii sounds like paradise, but Marian headed to Hawaii for a mission of mercy, not for a vacation. She cared for desperately sick people whom no one else wanted to touch. She worked with people who suffered from Hansen's disease for more than 30 years. And Marian's story sounds like she lived 1,000 years ago, but Marian died just over 100 years ago. It says St. Marian Cope never caught Hansen's disease, most likely because her procedures focused on cleanliness and safety. Jesus, thank you for St. Marian Cope's courage. Give me the courage and the mercy to be kind to people no one else wants to be around. It's a beautiful way to bring that, into our awareness of how we can do that in real time. St. Paul. Acts 9:5. He asked, "Who are you, Lord?" And the reply came, "I am Jesus, who you are persecuting." Paul hated followers of Jesus. Those people, Paul said, took the truth and twisted it. Those people claimed that the Savior of the world was a carpenter from an unimportant city. The Savior is supposed to be a king, not a carpenter, Paul thought. Paul knew that Christians believed this man, Jesus, had died and risen and returned to heaven. The Savior isn't supposed to die, Paul thought. He is supposed to conquer the world. Paul wanted anyone who loved and followed Jesus to be killed. He did some of that work himself. One day, on his way to find more followers of Jesus, Paul was blinded by a bright light from heaven. It was Jesus himself calling Paul into his service. And from that day forward, Paul believed the impossible. The carpenter from nowhere was the Messiah. St. Paul wrote much of the New Testament in the form of letters to churches he helped build. Jesus, help me see the light, know the truth, just as you helped St. Paul believe. And our last saint, St. Francis de Sales. Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Francis knew that loud arguments and big speeches convinced no one. They just made people angry. He lived during a time of great division among the followers of Jesus in France. What was the right way to worship God? People fought and argued over this question, going so far as to steal books and destroy churches. Instead of arguing, Francis invited people into his home, where he talked to them. Calmly and gently, he explained his thoughts. He wrote down his views and published them so that people could read the words for themselves and think them over calmly. He led people to agreement, not by forcing them or scaring them, but inviting them into conversations. Jesus, help me to speak calmly and gently, even when my feelings are strong. That's my hope with this series. Perhaps you have heard about the church, heard about things happening in the church, and you want to dismiss it all. And I would invite you to perhaps take something from this series and think it through calmly. Invite God to reveal himself to you. And then once you have that, allow God to lead you to the next steps. There's so many people that take on this mantle of being a Christian, and they reflect it out into the world in many different ways. And I would say to you that my desperate plea for you is that you don't let this go unsettled in your heart. God does say that He is willing to be found. And if you've been led here to this video, use this as the invitation. Take it in as God inviting you to find Him. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please go and check out the other parts of the series. I also have lots of art videos and book clubs or videos about different books that I have read, on top of full videos for teaching you about art and meditation and finding your way to God. Thanks for stopping by.